Zoom recording.
Don't forget to hit record, Chris.
Thank you, Dale. We have hit record, and
My job is done.
your job is
I am
done.
now.
Your job is not done at all because I want to first, I'll introduce myself and say my name is Chris Twiggs, and I'm a 17-time Hard Rock finisher, Hard Rock board member, and co-host of the Hard Talk podcast. And I'm delighted to be able to facilitate some of these conversations that we've been having each month as we prepare to hold the 30th running of the Hardrock 100 Endurance Run. Super excited for that. And I do want to introduce Dale Garland, who's our run director, has been for all of those 30 runnings, and would love to know, Dale, what's on your mind? Is there anything that you wanted to share with our group today?
No, you know what? Chris, thank you. And thanks to Betsy Kallmeyer and thanks to Brett Sublett, which we will get to in just a second. But thanks to everybody for taking some time to join us. Chris is on the ground, so to speak, and has up close and personal knowledge of what's going on with the course. So I'm looking forward to tonight's session.
Absolutely. Thank you. And I actually, I am on the ground. In fact, we just put out on our Instagram story a few minutes ago. We posted a video that I took up on the Hard Rock course yesterday. And so someone asked a question about snow, and you'll see it if you go to our Instagram and look at the story. You'll see snow on the course. In fact, you'll see so much snow on the part of the course I was on that I turned around. I didn't go across it. So we'll talk about that a little bit. So we do have here with us, as mentioned, we have Betsy Kalmar. Betsy Kalmar has 20. How many is it, Betsy? How many Hard Rock finishes? 21 Hard Rock finishes. 22. 21. 21 Hard Rock
21.
finishes. There you go. And has been a wonderful, wonderful volunteer for the last several years in terms of the course flag pulling. She organizes a fleet of volunteers to go out and make sure that the course is cleared of all of our markers and things like that. She knows the course better than almost anyone. And so we're delighted to have her here to help answer the questions. The person that knows the course better than anyone, or had better know it better than anyone, is our course director, Brett Sublett. Brett, thank you so much for being here. And most of the questions tonight, I think, are going to be directed at you. And we do have somebody who is on this team, but is not on this Zoom. But I just got a text message from him, Trevor Peterson, who is in charge of our trail work. He says, nothing on the question list felt critical. If you have any questions, feel free to text, but y'all know more than I do. Well, I will disagree with the fact that I know more than Trevor, but I will say that I'll be sure to send him a text if we do have a question that I think is particularly in his area. So without further ado, let's go ahead and start answering those questions that were submitted. I said before, and I'll say it again now, if there's someone that is watching this live and has a question, please type it into the chat and we will be sure to answer that question. We did get a lot of questions submitted ahead of time, and so we will make sure we cover all of those. And it's entirely possible, even likely, that a question you have has already been asked by someone else. So we'll try to get to it. But if you ask something that's different, or if you have a clarifying question on something that we talk about, throw it in there and we'll be sure to cover it. Our goal is to make you as comfortable as possible as you prepare for this really uncomfortable weekend that you are about to have. So I'm going to get to those questions. And the first one that I see, and this is a great one. Actually, this is asked, this is probably the question that is asked more than anything else, and it's asked in several different places on our spreadsheet. So lots of people have this question. What are your recommendations for how much water to carry on the course, especially for the longer sections between aid? Are there frequent enough water stops to filter water? Someone else asked, are there any sections where extra water should be planned for? Someone else asked, do you foresee the ability to pull or filter water along the course between aid stations? So lots of questions about where they can find water. Someone else wants to know, can I get away with carrying just 1 liter of water plus a filter? So I'm going to start with Brett. You're the one that kind of knows where this route goes. I don't know how much you've been out on the course, but what are your thoughts about how much water somebody should carry during Hard Rock? And is there the opportunity for them to pull water at streams and the like in between aid stations?
Yeah, Simple, quick answer. Yes, there are multiple opportunities to filter water and pull water on the course. Um, I would carry more than a liter of water, given using last year as an example that our temperatures at Hard Rock were warmer than Western states. So don't be fooled into like, I'm in the mountains, it'll be cool. It can be really hot. And the lack of humidity can really dehydrate you. So yeah, multiple places to pull water, and yeah, Betsy, I'll loop you in or ask you to jump in on this. For me, one of the only trouble sections I foresee is between Maggie and Sherman. You're going through Pole Creek, and there is water in there. How much water can vary quite a bit. I know people will be using filters, but also the quality of that water. There are a lot of elk, a lot of wildlife in that drainage. So that section, Maggie to Sherman, I would load up at Maggie with plenty of water. And oh, I'm sorry.
No, that was somebody. That was somebody that
Okay.
was accidentally unmuted. We're good.
Okay.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me a second though?
Yeah.
Between Maggie and Sherman is Pole Creek.
Yeah.
So Maggie to Pole Creek versus Pole Creek to Sherman.
Good point. There's an
Yeah.
aid station. Pole Creek aid station is
Okay.
there. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
The only other stretch and going the direction this year with the time of day, it's a short section, but I know it gets really warm, and that is the Shelf Road. It's only a 4-mile section from Sherman up to Burroughs, but it can get really toasty and really dusty on that section. So again, it's only 4 miles, but I just know that that can be a really hot, kind of miserable section through there. So
Yeah. Betsy, what are your thoughts?
That's a really good point. I think
Yeah.
people think that they just need one water bottle, and it is very warm through there. So I agree with that. Very much so.
Yeah. Um, I was 2 years ago when we were going in the same direction. I was volunteering at Animas, and we had a lot of runners coming in really, really hot, just overheated, really. And including I was not running, but there was another Floridian running, and he commented on how freaking hot it was out there. So it can be hot in that section. So I would say, yeah, make sure your bottles are full when you leave Sherman, and don't neglect to fill them up when you get to Burroughs for that climb up and over Handies. But yeah, as much snow as is out there right now, I think they're going to be, the streams will still be pretty good for most of the sections in terms of drawing water. I always carry a filter. That's one of those things. From the beginning, when we leave Silverton, I'm always carrying a filter, and I will not drink water that doesn't come either from an aid station or that I've filtered. I know some people will drink straight from a stream, and may the angels be on your side if you make that choice. So
I've never carried a filter, but I've always carried a real lot of water, way more than I ever needed. And I wish I would have had one of those little Sawyer filters and the water bottles just to kind of scoop down and use the filter at the top of the water bottle. Nowadays, now that I know the course so well, I'm like, I really wish I would have had the little Sawyer filter on the top of the water bottle. My main thing was to highlight most of the start to the aid stations and between aid stations, it's not real long that you would need water. So the ones I marked as it would be nice not to carry a real lot of water and you're going to have water along the way is Burroughs to the top of Handies. About tree line, you're going to be right next to a nice creek. And then you're going to step over that creek about 2/3 the way up. And so that's probably if I were to do it, I'd probably carry the Sawyer on top of water bottle and just scoop it up and put the Sawyer filter on top. But I've seen people filtering there. So that's a really nice one because that's a really long section. And if you could carry a little less water and take a break and get a little bit of water there, you're going to be right by that creek for a couple miles. But know that about tree line is when you'll first get close to it. And when you step over that creek is the last access to that creek. Another section I kind of highlighted was Telluride to Chapman. Again, kind of about when you're about tree line, you go over a creek. It's hard not to get wet at that creek. So that's a really nice place. And then from there to the next pitch up, you'll have water access. Yeah, so those two are probably the best sections to have a really long time between aid stations, and you'll have really good water access. That's really simple, and you don't have to climb down or climb up to get something just to get to the creek.
Yep. Good point. Someone asked specifically about water from Kroger's, how much water is available there, and would they need to bring extra, make sure their bottles are full, leaving Governors to get up there and then all the way down to Telluride. I can say there's water on the course. Right now, there's a lot of snow on the course between Governor and Kroger. So you can grab that and eat that to your heart's content. And I've not been on the other side, but I imagine there's snow over in that basin as well. Typically, Kroger is one bottle. That's about as much as as they'll want you to fill up there, because they do work really hard to carry that water up there. But if I'm remembering correctly, there's some streams down on the Telluride side of Kroger's as well, right?
Yeah, down about tree line as you're descending into Telluride, you'll hit there'll be some stream crossings.
Yeah, so there's that opportunity. So again, if you've got that filter or a stiff constitution, you could get by with that as well. Okay, another question. I did mention that I saw some snow up there yesterday on the course. Some people are asking what sections of the course they might be concerned about snow, and would they need to wear spikes or crampons, that sort of thing out there on the course. Brett, what do you think about that?
I guess number one, yes, there will be snow on the course. It's obviously really warm right now, and a lot of snow is melting, but north-facing aspects will have snow. That being said, the snow on the course, I kind of think of it as there's consequential sections that have snow on them, and then there's sections that'll have snow that you just trudge through it and, march on. There'll probably be footprints in front of you that a nice trench that you can follow. So the sections like American Basin below Handy's, probably, almost guaranteed there's going to be snow there. Not consequential, meaning you definitely don't need spikes. You can do, like I said, you can just kind of trudge right through it. A couple other places where there might be, like I said, non-consequential snow, probably on Buffalo Boy Ridge. There's always a little cornice there as you get ready to drop down into Maggie's. But again, you can just skirt around it or through it. It's not, there's nothing steep on the other side of it or terribly steep. So no spikes required. The places on the course where there is snow, there will be snow, and to me, it's a little bit more consequential. Would obviously be going up to Kroger's, Virginia's Pass, and potentially the top of Grant Swamp, a steep section there that holds on to some snow. There will be snow in Wasatch Saddle at the top of Oscars. Hopefully on the Ophir side of Oscars, that snow will melt out, because there are a couple of kind of steep pitches there where if there's snow there, we will pre-race go up and mitigate that and try to bench that out a little bit. So for spikes, and Betsy, I'll be curious your opinion. To me, if I were going to think about micro spikes, I would put them in my drop bag at Ouray. and I'd have them for going up Virginia's. And that for me would be the main concern for spikes. But
I think
everybody's comfort level on snow is a little bit different.
Yes, I agree. I think this side of Virginia's or Kroger's can be snowy going up. That even the top like 2 or 3 pitches can have significant snow on them. I tend to take yak tracks more than the Catulas or micro spikes, but I just like to carry lighter weight, and we'll put the yak tracks on, even though they're not as good as micro spikes or Catulas. But that's a good point. If you can pick them up at Uray and drop them off at Telluride. But this side of Kroger's, and that leads into one of my recommendations for what part of the course to see. And I would try to get there last couple days before just to see the latest conditions, but Virginia's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Right now, I promise you, it's all snow. I couldn't. I tried to get to Kroger's yesterday, and I got turned around before the as we know it. I call it football field. Some call it the parking lot, but I got turned around before I got there because it was a steep slope of snow, and I didn't feel like going for a ride. But I've been there before this time of year, and it's like that. And by race day, people are driving their cars all the way up to that area. So I imagine that will be the case now. It's melting well, and we will, of course, we will be getting up there on our course orientation hikes starting next week, and we'll be able to get a better idea of how things are melting out in those areas. As far as the yak tracks or the spikes or those things are concerned, if you're used to using those and you live in a place where it's wintry and they're useful to you, that is awesome, and throw them in your pack. I have never had any luck using those at all, and so I just rely on my good trail shoes and poles. I think if I didn't use poles, I could be in a lot of trouble up there on the snow. But my poles have saved me more than once by allowing me to get a good grip on the snow. But I kind of feel like I don't know what I'm doing with those things. I live in the wrong part of the country to be comfortable with yak tracks.
You can practice on the sand.
Oh my gosh, Betsy, I never thought of that ever.
Chris, there was a question in the chat about handies and melting out in handies and
Yeah.
and
How soon do we think handies will be melted enough to go over it in training pre-hard rock? Well, I will tell you that my guess is that handies will be melted out by what day are we doing it? We're going up there on Tuesday, July 1st. So that's my bet, is that it's going to be melted out enough to go up there on July 1st. And if I'm wrong about that, then the whole world will know. But I've not been up there to take a good look at it yet. Have either of you, Betsy or Brett?
I was up on Hurricane Pass, kind of looking over that way, and there was a lot of snow. This was about 10 days ago. And as you mentioned, Chris, when we get these kinds of temperatures and this kind of high pressure and long days and warm nights, things change really quickly. Yeah. So, I don't think the sky is not falling. The course is, you're not going to be skiing the course. It is going to melt out considerably. We could start a little contest here of like the date that we think handies will be climb. Everybody put in $5 and
I've already said July 1st. That's my day. That's the day I picked. But that is a great question. I'll say I've been up and over handies when it's all snow and it's still doable. We'll make sure that enough people have gone up and over it that we know that it's safe.
Yeah, we will be up there before. I mean, I know, Chris, you all are going up there on your hikes. I will also have people up there, and if we do need to, for safety reasons, do any mitigation, we will do our best to, like I said, bench out some sections or cut some steps. But with this kind of high pressure system, I'm pretty optimistic about snow melt.
Yep. Yeah. Another question, and Brett, this is your area for sure. People are asking, how will the course be marked, and how often will the course be marked? Will the course be marked, Brett?
The course will be marked. Yes.
Okay.
And I've got visual aids here, so
Mm,
I'm prepared. So,
nice.
so what you will see on the course. Let's see if I can get are these guys, these orange ribbons with reflective Hardrock labels on them. These will primarily be below tree line, attached to trees or bushes or old mining equipment or things you might encounter on the course. As you get up higher in other sections, we're going to have these nifty little aluminum rods, also with an orange and reflective tape on those. And in the marmot habitat, we've learned our lessons, and we use these. These are metal little plates that we like to use because the marmots really like to eat those ribbons. So these will stand the test of time. They do shimmer and reflect really, really well. So we will have those markers on the course. And as far as the frequency, the last few years we've put about 1,100 markers on the course. So does that mean that there's 11 markers per mile every mile? No, it does not. There are some sections of the course where there might be one marker per mile. If you're going up, again, Burroughs, Shelf Road from Sherman up to Burroughs, it's a big wide road. There aren't really any turnoffs. You're not going to see a whole lot of flagging on that. Just keep going up the road. There'll be sections of trail where instead of 11 flags per mile, we might have 15 or 20. If there are a lot of turns, a lot of options, forks in the trail, forks in the road. So if there are no options on a part of the course, whether it's single track or a road, you can count on it being a quarter mile to a half mile between markers. We will put confidence markers in, even on those long, mindless sections. We will periodically, like every quarter, half mile, put a marker in, just so if you kind of space out and it's late at night and you're like, oh my gosh, I haven't seen a marker in forever. We will put some intermittent confidence markers for you out there, so they won't just be at intersections. At intersections, we will put multiple markers together before an intersection on the side of the trail where the turn will be. So if the trail is going to split and you've got a left hand, you're going to turn left at the next fork, we'll put 2 or 3 markers on the left-hand side and then a couple of confidence markers just beyond that turn, so that you can stand at that intersection, look down the trail and go, oh, I see a marker right there. That's the way to go. So.
Nice.
Are you going to put anything like flour on the road near Telluride or Ouray, or Rick Trujillo used to put an in and out paper plate for Ouray? Anything additional in the towns?
Yeah, in town on those city streets. That's a really good point. I give the Ouray aid station folks and the Telluride aid station folks. Every aid station gets a lot of course markers, but they specifically, Telluride and Ouray will get about 15 or 20 orange Hardrock traffic cones, and they will mark that with cones, also with flashing blinking lights. So when you're coming through those towns at night, you'll have orange cones and flashing lights to direct you through those city streets.
Great.
Brett, could you kind of comment just a little bit that, and you do an excellent job on course marking, but the point is there are 2-legged and 4-legged animals that are sometimes knock down course markings and things like that. So do you want to talk about that at all in terms of what a good practice might be or responsibilities might be, and not just to depend on those course markers?
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you. Unfortunately, there are mitigating, there are factors. If you read the first page of the course description, if you pull that offline, we talk a lot about, elk on the course, marmots on the course, tourists who my sister-in-law ran Hard Rock 10 years ago. I'm going to grab one of these markers and give it to her. That kind of thing happens. So becoming reliant on the course markers, I would use the course markers as your first line of defense. And we'll get into that gets us into like the modern world of technology and GPX files. For all the Luddites out there, myself included, it does work really nicely. And I saw a few questions from the last couple of days in the chat or in the submissions about getting lost. And I wanted to be proactive about, let's talk about not getting lost instead of what to do when we're lost. Let's not get lost. And that means using the GPX file, downloading the GPX file, and also knowing how to use it. I've talked to a lot of folks in previous years, and they said, oh yeah, I went to the Hardrock website, I downloaded the GPX file. Wow, and that's it. And what do I do? Yeah, I got it. So beforehand, and Chris, your hikes, to me, your hikes are a great opportunity to sort of practice using that technology. Mm-hmm. And I think about the GPX sort of happening in the background. You're following the course markers, you've done a little recon beforehand, hopefully some of the tricky sections. But the GPX is on your phone, even on your watch nowadays, and it's operating in the background so that if and when you're like, I haven't seen a marker, I'm really concerned, you can refer to that GPX. And like I said, practice using it, whether it's on Chris's orientation hikes or just on a pre-run, pre-course hike or walk, and just knowing how to use that. There's a lot of good GPS apps out there. There's CalTopo, there's Gaia. But anyway, that GPX, it is a really, really nice tool. It's your friend if you're an ultra runner. And that's
it really is. And I will say I have been stuck pre-GPX file days. I have been stuck up on Putnam in the fog at night, and you could have had 30 course markers per mile. We couldn't see any of them because we couldn't see past our own hands. And if we had had that file on our watch or on our phone, it wouldn't have been a big deal. We could have just followed that right on to the aid station. So I am thrilled that technology exists. And my only question every year with regard to that is the file that was used for the course last year or 2 years ago, is that accurate for this year, or are there some course changes that people need to know about?
No, the 2023 going this direction, or in 2022, actually, we had to make some changes. That's when we altered, I believe, Grouse Gulch became Animas Forks, and Pole Creek got a little bit extended. So that was our last real significant change to the GPX file. And so now with Animas Forks being updated, Pole Creek being updated, we should be, we checked that beforehand before we put it up on the website this year. I took a run through that, and we're all good to go with the GPX file.
Awesome. That is fantastic. So for people that are watching, go to hardrock100.com, click on under About Hardrock 100, click on Course Description, and you will see the GPX file right there that you can download. And then hopefully if you spend a lot of money on a fancy watch, it's going to accept that file and you'll be able to use it. And you're exactly right, Brett. I'll be using that file for those course orientation hikes because it won't be marked yet. So it's important for me to make sure I'm taking people to the right places.
Yeah. Like I said, having that file and knowing how to use it is critical. Practice beforehand.
Right.
I bet. Yeah, Dale.
I was going to say, I'd be happy, Brett referenced the Luddites. I'd be happy to do a 20-minute lecture on the British Industrial Revolution and the Luddite movement in the industrial Great Britain, if you'd like me to.
We'll save that for the end if we have time, Dale. So we appreciate that. With regard to, because every year some people do wander off course, it does happen. What is the protocol? What are people supposed to do if they get off course, what are their responsibilities?
Yeah, their responsibilities, or first priority, I would say to people, if you think, or you realize you're off course, first off, have a seat. If you've got food in your pack, drink some water, eat a gel or two, or a bar, or whatever you've got. Sometimes getting off course can be as much related to you being dehydrated, being fatigued. Your brain just doesn't operate as well at altitude. So I would say kind of take a couple minutes, relax, get some food in you, get some liquids in you before you kind of start spiraling and panicking. Because if you've got the GPX file, if you've been paying attention to the course markers, I would say after you've kind of gotten a little food in you and sort of gathered your senses, is definitely retrace your steps. Don't try to, in the terrain that we're in, people think, well, I think the course is over here, and if I just go this way, I'll intersect the course here real quick. In the kind of terrain with the topography that we have, that can be a big mistake. You can get, as they say, cliffed out. So go back the way you came until you get to a previous course marker. You're not, you can get yourself in a lot more trouble by just going bushwhacking through the woods and across the mountains, and then you're going to be in a bad way. So yep. Retracing, and also just think about the priorities. It's like our aid station volunteers are so good at basically talking people out of dropping. And I'd say if you same sort of mentality applies. If you feel like you're lost, the priority is, like I said, gather yourself, retrace your steps, and you're going to finish the race. Like, just prioritize, like, I'm going to get back on the course. I'm going to be, fueled. I'm going to be ready to go. And just think of it as sort of like a timeout. Like, I got a little ways off. I wandered a little ways off course. I retraced my steps, got back on course, and now it's, all systems go. So I would just say your mentality can play a big part of, what happens to you in the mountains.
Absolutely. Dale, do you have any comment on number one, what Brett said is terrific, but any comment from the administration standpoint, right. Avoiding disqualification, and then the next thing is, if this is somebody that's hopelessly lost or injured, what is the protocol there?
Correct. Yeah. Brett's exactly right. From administrative perspective and administrative point of view, is what we want you to do for safety reasons and for administrative reasons is to turn around and go back to the course in the way that you came, and not try to shortcut the course or anything like that. This course is a closed course. That means runners should follow the course as described on the GPX files and in the course manual. So shortcutting the course, going cross country instead of running the course as prescribed, things like that can lead to disqualification.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Mm-hmm. And then if they feel like they're hopelessly lost or injured, what should they do?
Correct. Well, every runner will have a runner tracker on them, courtesy of Map Progress, and we will be monitoring 146 dots around the course. And your friends and family can also do that, both on the ground in Silverton, Ouray, Telluride, but then also at home. If they become injured or lost, those units that we rent from Map Progress do have an SOS function. And so if they get to a point where they're hopelessly lost, or they're injured or whatever, they just need to activate the SOS function on their tracker. And this will all be covered when they check in with our tracker coordinator and Duft, when they check in on Wednesday and Thursday. She'll show how to activate that if need be. But you're exactly right. We hope that people don't need that. We all know that we'll go through hills and mountains and valleys in terms of emotions and physical effort and things like that. So I think Brett's advice is really solid. Take a second, regroup, and then carry on.
Absolutely. Betsy, you've got more time out there on the course than any of us, and so you're probably most likely to have come across this problem. Someone would love to know what is the best way to defend myself against sheep and sheepdogs? There's a lot of folk tales during Hard Rock of people coming into contact with sheep and sheepdogs, particularly up in the Green Mountain section. Have you had that experience, and what do you recommend there?
Well, I was going to wait for you guys to answer to see what you said, but if I'm going to go first, it's so funny when you're coming up there, but if you're going the other direction, like you're coming towards Cunningham and you're tired, and all of a sudden you hear this, bah, 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 and I'm like, it sounds like a stadium with people clapping and yelling, and like a football game is going on. I thought that was the strangest thing. But anyway, I put "ugh" with an exclamation point right after it because they scare the heck out of me. And I'm always praying that they're really far away. And I remember being briefed on them, and I think you're supposed to say stop or down or like a single word command to the sheepdog. And I don't think I would run real fast and try to get away because that's probably kind of like their sense to chase you like a mountain lion. So, but I think you're supposed to kind of face them and try to be the more dominant person and just say stop or no, go back to the sheep is the other thing I think I remember. Go to the sheep, things like that. So I'll let you guys fill that in because I don't know if I remember I just know it's scary. And I know somebody that was checking out the course got bit, and but thankfully the last time I was around any sheepdogs, the sheep herders were there, and so I went towards the sheep herders so that if anything happened, I was closer to the sheep herders. That was up on that was before Maggie up there, right at the pass. So
Brett, what's your advice on what people should do up there if they encounter the sheep or sheepdogs?
Yeah, a couple of things. I've read up on sort of the protocol from what the Forest Service publishes, and number one thing is just give them a wide berth. So if you see a herd of sheep and you see a dog or two with them, if you've got the opportunity, especially up there on Green Mountain where it's kind of wide open, just veer one way or the other and try to give them a lot of space. That would be the best thing. Just avoidance is the best option, and not trying to walk or run through the herd or near the herd, a flock, pardon me, of sheep. That being said, I will get an update from course markers and when I'm course marking people and when I'm up there, but they are issuing a lot fewer permits for grazing up in that section. I don't want to give people false hope that there won't be any sheep, but there are many, many fewer permits for sheep grazing being issued in the Rio Grande National Forest right now. So that's good for us, for all the runners and pacers and crew. But I can get an update when we're out there if there are any flocks of sheep up there. But they've been fewer these last couple of years, and that number continues to decline.
Yep. Jeff Comstock in the chat asks, does clacking poles work for the sheep because it works for cattle? My concern was never about the sheep. I'm not worried about the sheep. It was always the dogs that I was worried about. And I have no idea if clacking the poles would scare the dogs away, but
from what I've read, they say that no quick movements or sudden movements, and so I don't know if that would qualify as a sudden movement. So I think maybe I would steer away from that.
Yeah, that's good. Well, I guess I've always been lucky because I've never done anything on the Hard Rock course that was considered quick. So, let's see. We've got another question that some folks ask. They want to know what are appropriate responses to other user groups when they encounter them on the road sections. And we will see other folks out there. It is hard to believe, but there are people, even here in the San Juans, that have never heard of Hard Rock. And there are people that come here to these mountains for other reasons besides being at Hard Rock. Dale Garland, what is the official
Yes.
stance on how to interact appropriately for both for our runners and for our crew as they're making their way in and out of our aid stations?
Yeah, probably more for the crews and the spectators and things like that. But we've worked very hard over the last couple of years to work with these different user groups with the understanding that everybody should be able to enjoy the San Juan Mountains in their own ways. And so, if you see four-wheel drive people and things like that, their advocacy groups are working with them. We're working with the runners to just treat each other with respect. I mean, there's enough room, in the San Juan for everybody. Use it. My advice is use it as an opportunity to be an ambassador, not only for Hard Rock, but for ultra running and for the sport in general. I know from talking with some of the San Juan user groups, they're saying stop your vehicles, get off to the side of the road, don't gun your engines, things like that. Now, will that be 100%? Can't guarantee that, but that's kind of that's where we're trying to operate. And so we're hoping that we can all treat each other with respect and use it as an opportunity to get to know each other. You don't have to sit there and chat each other and chat up about what Hard Rock is and things like that, but go at it with the idea that these people are here, they respect what you're doing, and that you should respect what they are doing too. That goes doubly with your crews. They're on high alert for you. They want to, you know, get to the next place, and so they may be standing in the middle of the road waiting for you or something like that. Please remember that Jeeps have just as much a right to the road as a crew member standing in the middle of the road waiting for a runner.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, very good. Very good. Very, very likely that you'll come across other folks and that your crews will as well.
Yeah. So as you're working with your crew, say, hey, when you see these people, be nice to them. I guess that's it. Be nice.
Yes. Yes. Be nice for sure. That's Dale. That's good advice
That's
at all
good
times.
advice for a lot of things, isn't it,
It really
Chris?
is. It
Yeah.
really is.
Yeah. I think
Um,
Brett had a comment.
yeah, please, Brett.
Yeah, just I guess reiterating what Dale said, but also kind of on an administrative side, we're able to operate this event, and race directors all over the country and all over the world are operating events on public lands, and we do so with the blessing of the Forest Service and many other agencies. And there's a lot of other people competing for, these public lands and doing things. And so the better ambassadors we can be, it makes our job easier. And I said other race directors around the country to say, hey, if somebody has an idea, hey, I want to have this ultra marathon in Idaho. They've got to go through these same processes, and the better you treat people, the better ambassador you are with everybody with multiple users, the easier it's going to be for that to continue to happen.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, talking about things that can happen, Betsy Kalmeyer, someone would love to know, and I think a lot of people would love to know, what should I do if I'm caught in the unlikely, hardly ever happens out here event that I'm stuck in a lightning storm during Hard Rock? And I'm being
Yeah,
facetious, folks. It's gonna happen. It happens pretty much every year. And if you're lucky, it's gonna happen both nights.
yeah. One time going out of Telluride up Mendota, a storm was coming in. I could just see it moving, moving, moving. So I just stayed in the trees for about a half hour because I didn't want to be up on the ridge when the lightning came. So one of the things that's been talked about over the years is that the 48-hour cutoff is often because of a lightning storm coming through. You'd be able to hunker down. If you can hunker down lower, that's better. So you might want to look around and listen to that lightning. I count 3 seconds, 1001, 1002, 1003, a little bit slower than that, to judge that that's a mile away. So if it's getting closer, I really start to watch those clouds and the timing of the lightning and try to not be in the open area if I can. If I'm moving up through the trees, I might wait for the storm to pass, because usually it passes in 10, 15 minutes, maybe a little longer. But so if you are up on that ridge, I think the first thing you should consider is separating from your pacer or other runners. Put some distance between you, because if somebody gets it, you don't want all 4 people to get it. You want to be spaced out a little bit. If it's right on top of you, I'd probably put my poles down somewhere other than holding on to them. You never want to kind of hunker down under a lone tree or a lone rock formation or a lone boulder. It's better to be kind of in a ditch or a low point, and it's better to squat down and kind of hold your ankles than to lay down, is what I've been told. So those are some of the things I remember. And so if anything's changed, please, you guys jump in. So
Brett?
Yeah, I'd say one of the things Betsy mentioned that's really poignant is, using like handies, for instance. If you're headed up handies in the afternoon and it looks like it's clouding up and you're a little concerned, you might want to kind of hang out at tree line just to sort of observe before you expose yourself up above tree line. You might kind of dilly-dally a little bit there and kind of see which way the storm's moving, or, kind of lessen your time or your risk above tree line and where you're more exposed. So,
yeah, absolutely. It's highly likely that there will be lightning out there somewhere on the course during Hard Rock weekend. Hopefully it won't be where you are. So far, knock wood, nobody's died of lightning during Hard Rock. So that's kind of nice. If it happens to be you, there's a good chance they'll name that part of the course after you. So you've got that to look forward to. But yes, 48 hours is a long time. And the intention is certainly that you be able to hunker down, even at Putnam, even at that last aid station, that you be able to hunker down there for a little while before let the storm pass before you have to leave. Dale?
Yeah, all of that advice is great advice, everybody, and I hope that you do consider your safety. We also monitor that from race headquarters, and so we are, if we see storm cells moving into a particular area, we put all of the aid stations on alert and let them know, to let you know what's going on and things like that. So but Chris is exactly right. It's probably going to happen. It is, if you're not familiar with the term, it is monsoon season in the San Juans, and that means rain and showers and storms almost every day.
Yeah, it really does. And shout out to our amazing ham radio operators that allow us to get the word out to even those remote aid stations where there's not cell coverage. They'll know what's going on, because thanks to those radio operators, we can get the word out, and so they can be apprised of the situation and let the runners know as they're coming through. So really, really grateful to all of them.
I just have a question. One year, James Varner was there. I was there. I think Mark Heafy was there. We were all hunkered down at Maggie, and everybody with their pacers were under the pop-ups, trying to stay out of the rain. But it was a really, really bad lightning. So I don't know if this is something the board or the run committee would discuss, and I don't know how fair it would be, but it'd be safer if everybody got in a vehicle. Should we not get in a vehicle because you get disqualified? But it was right on top of us. I mean, it was really scary. And then I didn't think about it at the time because I was just trying to stay dry, but I was like, yeah, that might have been more safe if we could all hopped in the vehicles, but maybe the aid station people wouldn't appreciate sweaty, wet runners being in their vehicles. So maybe we shouldn't go there. So I don't know. Yeah. But that was, and I don't know, that was something. I don't know if there's a lightning rod or something that could make it safer. But man, that was scary.
Yeah. Yeah. Dale, do you want to comment on that? I
I don't
don't,
know.
I've not read anything I mean, Maggie in particular is not a crude aid station. So you're not going to have, if it happened at Cunningham, and your crew is there, there's nothing in the rule book that says you can't get in your vehicle. You just can't get in the vehicle and leave. And
Yeah, that's
you're
true.
disqualified at that point. But to
Right.
get in your stationary vehicle at an aid station that's a crude aid station and hide from the lightning, that's fine. And I think that would be encouraged.
I think that's prudent.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. Good.
Yeah.
Good.
absolutely. Speaking of those remote aid stations, I want to ask this question because this was the first question that was asked in our chat here. Someone's asking about what details for a pacer swap at KT. KT is a non-crew access aid station, but we do allow pacers to swap out there. What is the protocol for how that's going to work? Brett, are you familiar with that?
Yes. Yeah, your pacer is the only person that can go up to KT. They can be dropped off or park their vehicle down at the Ice Lakes trailhead. And if I recall, it's 3.325 miles from the available parking up to KT. And your pacer is, again, the only person that can go up to KT to meet the runner. Mm-hmm. So you can't have someone drive you up to KT and drop you off. They can drop you off at Ice Lakes, or you can park at Ice Lakes and hike up.
There you go.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that's, that's not a bad place. If you've got pacers that, especially if I used to have a closer. I used to have a guy he was my guy for the last segment, no matter which direction. So he'd come in, he'd hike up to KT and he'd bring me in from there, or he'd meet me at Cunningham and he'd bring me over from there. And he was a Silverton local. And so I felt like these were his home trails. And that time that I was caught in the fog up on Putnam, he was the one that got us out of there because he had the right sense. So yeah, don't worry about trading out a pacer there, but follow the rules about it if you're going to do it. Back to our questions that were submitted ahead of time, and this is a great one. And Betsy, I'll direct this one to you first. What do you think is the most difficult section of the course in this direction?
Okay, so this is different than the places that you should look at.
Well, we can lead into that one too. We've got two questions. There's what's the most difficult section? And then another question, which could be related, but maybe not, is if you have a limited number of days, what are the top 3 sections to look at before the run? So those may be the same answer, maybe not.
I think most people would, this direction, even though it's early on, still think Handy's is probably one of the most difficult because that's the longest section, some of the longest without an aid station. So from Burroughs down to Animas Forks, I think that could be considered one of the most difficult. But I'll answer the other one too. I think if you get a chance to be there and check out some sections, I think Handy's would be one of them. If you can, and I always think it's really beneficial to try to go the direction you're going to be going for the run, if at all possible. So, but if you can't, park down by Animas Forks or Grouse Gulch, the old Grouse Gulch, and go up and then come back down. But going from Burroughs all the way down, at least to the road, Engineer Road, would be good. The second place I think people should see, and might be the most emotionally difficult, well, there's 2 of those, would be Grant Swamp. So the direction we're going this year, I think can be very difficult. And it helps a lot to go ahead of time because then you can pick your line. Once you're on that scree, you might think it from the distance, it looks best to go this way. And other people might be going that way, but you might You might try a couple different lines on Grant Swamp, depending on the moisture. If it's really dry, it can be even more difficult. If it's got a little moisture in it, that helps a lot. And the latest possible, you can go up to Kroger's from Governor's. I think you don't want to go up there first thing because in a week it can change a lot. So if you're going to be around, try to go just a couple days ahead just to see that part and see how much snow is on those last 3 pitches. The Telluride side is easy. It's pretty straightforward, and as long as you turn from the top after you go over the top, that turn caught somebody a couple of years ago that was leading. And my one spot I always think is hard. I got lost there the first year, and I always look for other people that are in the run. When you're coming off Handies and you go through kind of the wet basin there, then you come up and over a rise, and you look down and you see a parking lot in like a mile or two. Don't think I'm going to that parking lot, because you're going to make a sharp left turn. So if you're there ahead of time before it's marked, try to remember to, if your GPX tells you, I guess they don't talk to you like you're going to have to make a left turn in 100 feet, like your cars do. So make sure you know that there's that left turn coming off Handies close to the basin, American Basin. And then you get to climb a little bit more before you go down again. So so those are the areas I think you should check out ahead of time. And those 2 turns, I think, are the toughest to, when you're in a really good downhill run off of Handies, not to space it out and not make that left turn. So
good advice. Brett, same question to you, and see if they're the same answer, that's fine. But if you have a different answer, the hardest part in this direction, and then the parts that people really need to check out.
Yeah, hardest can be somewhat subjective of what's hard to one person. So it's technically hard. I would say I would echo Betsy's comments. If you're wondering what's technically the hardest, then I would definitely check out the climb up to Virginius and the climb at Grant Swamp. Again, to pick your line and kind of have an idea, knowing what you're getting into. That being said, if you're prioritizing, you can't see all of the course and you're prioritizing. If you look at your projected, goal paces or your projected paces, preview sections that you think you're going to be on at night. Or if you don't have time to, if you're going to have a pacer during those times, like if you can't get up to Virginius 2 days before the event because you want to rest and you don't want to wear sin, and you're going to have a pacer, have your pacer go do those sections so that they're dialed and they can coach you through those sections. So sometimes at night things look a lot different, or they do look a lot different and can feel a lot different. So I would say if you're looking at your goal, your paces, or where you think you're going to be, if you haven't seen those sections that you're going to be on at night, go look at those.
That's exactly what I was going to say, Brett. And I think that's great advice. That last section, the last climb, the section from KT up to Putnam and down into the Putnam aid station, that's a section that a lot of people are going to be in the dark. Most of the years that I've gone this direction, I've been in the dark, and that's where I've gotten lost before. And again, I think the GPX will help a lot of people not be lost, but I think seeing it in the daylight will help people understand what it is they're going through, so that they know where the climbs are and what to expect with those. And then, it's not technical. It's not, nobody's going to get lost there, but I really would go up Bear Creek Ouray, or come down it from the engineer aid station, because a lot of people will be in the dark there. And boy, that's an area you want to see. You want to know what that looks like, because it's beautiful. It really is awesome. Gorgeous. And if you're not out, if you're not appreciating the beauty of the San Juans, if you're just here to get around the San Juans as fast as you can go, then I feel really sorry for you. I think even the people that, Betsy, you can speak as someone that's won this race a bunch of times. I think even the people that are winning, they're appreciating the beauty of the terrain that they're traveling through. Um, Speaking of Bear Creek Ouray, there is some construction, some coursework, some trail work that is going on there. And a lot of people would love to know what's going on with Bear Creek. In fact, some people are wondering, is it going to be accessible? Brett, what are the current guidelines for people getting on Bear Creek, and what do you know about what's going on there? And I do have a note from Trevor to fill in anything that that he may know that you don't.
Okay. Yeah, getting on to Bear Creek Ouray pre-race is only on weekends. What they told me as far as their closure is sundown on Friday until sun up on Monday. During the week it is off limits, and they're very some of that's so that they can get their work done. A lot of it is just for safety. What they're doing up there, I know one of the questions somebody asked exactly what's going on up there, and the wording from the trail closure said extensive construction of stone retaining walls, drainage structures, and low water crossings. Essentially, that there's a lot of it. It's a really steep canyon that goes through. Water causes erosion, gravity causes erosion. So that trail not only gets a lot of traffic, but it also it's really harsh terrain. So they're kind of firming up retaining walls. That trail has a tendency to migrate down into the creek bed. And every few years you have to kind of push it up the hill a little bit, and then it wants to work its way back down into the creek. So that's kind of what they're doing, is moving that trail and shoring it up, moving it up the hill a little bit.
There you go. I have not been on that section of the course myself, but Trevor Peterson, who is our trail work coordinator, he has been on it. I asked him, and his response is, "Yeah, it's ugly." He says there's one almost impassable spot, and there may be three other areas of, quote, heightened caution after the main blowout. So we are really grateful that there is work that's being done up there to make that course safer. And we're also really grateful that we know we are allowed to go on that section of the course during Hardrock. It will be open during Hardrock. And we did have 1 year, Dale, what year was it that we couldn't even get on that section until the run itself?
Gosh, Betsy, help me out. It's got to be
I was thinking about 5 years ago, maybe
yeah,
8.
yeah.
Yeah. So there was a time and it's part of where they're doing the work was it was a problem then, it's a problem now, and we couldn't train on that at all. So thankfully, weekends it is open. We do have a course orientation hike scheduled for Bear Creek Ouray on Sunday, June 29th. We'll meet at the we'll meet at the Ouray, the Bear Creek Ouray trailhead. Most of those orientation hikes were going to start in Silverton, but not all of them. Obviously, when we're hiking close to Telluride and Ophir, I'm not driving from Ouray to Silverton to meet people to come back through Ouray to drive to Telluride. So those will meet at other places, but we are going to be meeting at the Bear Creek Ouray trailhead on Sunday, June 29th. We'll hike up to the engineer aid station and back. Extra credit if anybody decides to go all the way to O Point. But once we get to the engineer aid station, which is just above tree line up there, you'll be able to see O Point from that. So that'll be a great opportunity for us all to see what work has been done. And that is still several days before Hardrock itself. And so there may even be some improvements in that area between the time we see it on those hikes and the run day itself.
Yeah, and I do, if you don't mind, I just want to mention, we're very fortunate that they're making a special allowance for us because they're working Monday through Friday. And we say, wait a second, our race starts on Friday morning early. And so what they're doing is they are knocking off work Thursday before Hardrock and allowing us through there on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday of race weekend, which was a really a really nice gesture.
Yes, and so that allows not only that allows us to you guys to be out there to market, and it allows Betsy to go out there with her folks and clear the markers from that section as well. So that's why we need that latitude, not just coming through Friday night and Saturday morning. So yeah, we are really lucky.
Right. And they is the United States Forest Service.
That's right.
And yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
A
Oh,
great
yes.
part.
The
A great part.
the bane of the American language, the indeterminate they. So, Brett, one other question with regard to this isn't a marking question, but this is definitely a course question. Will there be a rope at the on the Uray side of Virginius? And if so, when do you expect that rope to be in place?
And yes, there will be a rope. I've spoken to Ian Ellis, who is our aid station captain at Kroger's, and they will begin ferrying loads up there on Thursday and setting a fixed line up there Thursday evening, Friday morning, possibly. So yes, it will be there. I have confirmed that with aid station captain, and he and his crew, they work. It's a Herculean effort to set that aid station up, and they are the ones that set that fixed line up there on that pass. So it's a go.
There you go. So when we hike that section in the course orientation, there will not be a rope there. In all the years that we've been going up there, we've been able to get up there without a rope. But during the run, you'll be glad it's there. It certainly is helpful going up that section. Also, I imagine there'll be a rope across South Mineral toward
Probably.
the end of the run. Am I correct about that, Brett? Oh, you're muted. I don't know why, but you're muted.
Oh, sorry. I can neither confirm nor deny if there will be a rope across Mineral Creek.
That's a game time. That'll be a game time decision.
Gotcha. All
But
right.
can I add something? Can I add something to those two things?
Dale.
Those last two comments. First, around South Mineral Creek, and you'll hear me say it a couple more times. We want your family, your friends to experience the finish with you and be part of your celebration when you get to that point. But please, please, please do not have your crew or anybody meet you at South Mineral Creek crossing. They need to meet you at the intersection of Newt Chute and the Shrine Road and run the last mile with you. That is a busy road, and you will be ticketed and cars towed if the State Patrol sees you parking there and things like that. So we're asking everybody to help us out. Do not go and say, "Oh, we want to see our friends cross the river." We go do that some other day. But please, during the actual run, plan on meeting your family, friends, everybody at the intersection of Newt Chute and Shrine Road.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
And then the other thing, and you're going to hear me say this again, one of the things I think is really cool is when aid stations know that you appreciate them. And so if you're just kind of sitting around, have a little bit of free time, take out some paper, take out some note cards, something like that, and write a thank you note to the aid stations. And then carry those notes with you. And as you go through the aid stations, just that means a lot to them. We get a lot of people to do Herculean things, to use the term, for a t-shirt. And so thank yous go a long way. So a handwritten note, man, that's like gold. And so if you've got that, you don't have to go to Ian Ellis. You can go, hey, to the crew at Kroger's or whatever. Write them a little thank you note. Show them how much you appreciate what they do.
Yeah. And not just Kroger's.
Right, exactly. Yeah. All of them.
All of them.
Of the aid stations.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Fantastic, fantastic, folks. Before we wrap things up, I just want to ask, Brett, is there anything that we haven't talked about that you think is important for this group of folks to hear?
Yes, a couple of things. And this is pertinent to what we were just talking about with Uray Bear Creek. And that is the Governor Basin Road going up towards Virginius. There is an EPA project, a mine remediation project that it has not started yet, but it is on the books. I've spoken to the project manager up there. there is going to be foot traffic allowed through the entirety of the project. But if you go up Governor Basin Road and you encounter some heavy machinery and, bulldozers and tractors and things like that, there is an EPA project that is set to start up there very soon. They may wait and start after our race, but I just want to give people a heads up not to, freak out if they go up there and there's there's all these big trucks. And yes, we do know about that. They are allowing us through that section, foot traffic through that section throughout, leading up to before Hardrock, during and after Hardrock. But don't be surprised if you see some machinery and work going on up at the top of Governor's Basin.
Mm-hmm. Good. Anything else that we want to make sure? John asked in the chat, any contaminated water sources from mining, there are known risks. Yeah, if the water's coming out of a mine, that's a known risk. Don't drink water coming out of a mine.
If it's orange, don't drink it.
Probably not. That's why filters, I really want to emphasize filters. I have heard people talk about specifically not drinking up in that area of Governors because of that thing. Hopefully you'll have enough water coming out of Uray that you'll be able to get up to Governors just fine.
Okay, and the good news along with that, the good news is that Camp Bird Road is open. So
yes,
you're not going to have to scramble over boulders and things like that.
That's true. Yeah, it was. They had an issue there that they had to deal with. But I can confirm I didn't get stopped yesterday going up until I hit snow, which was above where the Governor's aid station will be. So that is good. Betsy, is there anything that you think is important for this group to hear before we finish things up?
Well, I saw one more question. I thought it was the easy answer. Somebody wanted to know about high altitude camping.
Oh, yes.
And Red Mountain Pass has a lot of dispersed camping between Silverton and Uray. That's a really nice high altitude. There's campgrounds up at Little Mullis Lake, which a lot of people like to camp up there before Hardrock. So I'm sure there's many more, but those are two I can just think of right now.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much for pointing that out. That's right. That was a question some people had. And yeah, Red Mountain Pass would be a good spot. There is construction on Red Mountain Pass. Every summer there's construction on Red Mountain Pass. So be patient as you're driving around, try to get spots in training and for your crews. And pacers, be patient as you are driving around. Your pacer, your runner is most likely not going to beat you to an aid station, so there's no need to get anxious or stressed out over the slight delays that are going to be happening because of that construction.
Right, I was going to bring that up, Chris. That currently, to our knowledge, there are no road closures of any length of time, but there will be road delays.
Yes.
Yeah,
that is correct. That's what I've read as well.
Yeah.
Thank you all so very much. I really appreciate all of you. Dale, Run Director Dale Garland, thank you so much for doing everything.
Thank you, Chris.
And
hey, the next time we see everybody, it'll be
in
the gym in Silverton.
That's right. It sure
in July.
In July. It's where Hard Rockers belong. Betsy Kalmeyer, thank you so much for being here with all of your experience, and thank you for organizing the folks that are going to be clearing the course of those markers. Brett Sublett, oh my gosh, you are so important, and we thank you so much for everything you've done. It's so much more than just getting markers out there on the course. All of the interaction you've had to have with the Forest Service and the people that are doing the EPA project and all of those things that you've done. I'm not sure you knew all the things you were going to have to do when you agreed to be the course director, but you're stuck now, and we are grateful for it and for you.
Can I make one point? I don't mean to drag this on, but I was just going through my notes here. So just real quickly, going back to the sheep and sheepdog subject, I was reading up on some stuff while we were here. If you're going to be out previewing that, especially Green Mountain, don't bring your dogs with you. If you're out there previewing that section, of course, that's what I'm reading is that's a big no-no. So I know we all love our pets. And they're not going to be with you on race day, but even if you go up there beforehand, take them on some other sections, but let's try to keep our dogs out of that section just in case there are sheep, because that could create a little situation.
Good point. Of course, dogs are not allowed to accompany runners during Hard Rock, and we don't want the. In fact, Dale, will you talk for just a second about what the guidelines we have are for our four-legged friends?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they are welcome on training runs. They are subject to municipal leash laws when you're in the towns. They, for safety, anytime you're at a Hard Rock aid station or at the finish line, the dogs need to be uh, under restraint, not just under voice control, but under restraint. Uh, if you have a service dog, please check in with the aid station director, or excuse me, the aid station captain, wherever that is. But for the most part, we want this to be enjoyable for the pets, but also for everybody else who we don't want it to be a situation where there's an unfortunate interaction. Let me
There you
just say
go.
that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And I will just close by saying course orientation hikes begin on Thursday, June 26th in Silverton, Colorado. They will continue through Saturday, July 5th. There is no orientation hike on the 4th because we've got a lot of other fun things that are going on July 4th in all of these mountain towns. You are invited to be a part of these hikes, whether you are a hard rocker that is entered in the run, whether you are a pacer who wants to check out the sections that you're going to be pacing or the sections you're not going to be pacing, or if you're a crew member or a family member and you just want to have an idea of what your runner is going to be going through, you are invited. We would love to have you there. These are hikes. These are not runs. These are not races. These are hikes, and you're absolutely welcome to come. We'd love to have you there. Thank you all again so very much. And yes, indeed, we will see you in Silverton. Take care, everybody.
Thanks.
Bye, everybody.